Well, in 1979, along with Tookie's arrest, was the start of the A-Tray Rollin 60s war.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know the guys involved in the original altercation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I understand the whole thing was over a girl.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain the story?
Well, at that time, prior to that, Big Rick, brother got killed in March '79. When I went to jail is when this started escalating because when I moved on 60 on 10th Avenue, so we had a relationship with them. Then they got into a fight. A guy from 90 Gangster or whatever, he ended up shooting Big Rick brother, which is Tyrone. And I had been knowing Tyrone since he was 7 or 8 years old at that time. So Tyrone get killed.
And Tyrone's from the Rollin 60s.
Yes. But the guy that killed him wasn't from a Trey gangster. He was from 90. So at that time they wanted to turn this guy in, and they were telling them we can't do that. We have nothing to do with it at that time. And when then it just escalated from there. Because now I had went to jail. They didn't actually start war until 1980 because they didn't know each other like that after I left. I was the common glue because I stayed on 10th Avenue. When I moved off 83rd and Western, I moved on 63rd and 10th Avenue. And when I moved on 10th Avenue, over there they were bishops. Not the 60s, they had bishops, Lucky in them, but they also end up having neighborhood is what they started off as. And actually, I got into a confrontation with Lucky to where me, Barefoot Pookie, I'm getting dropped off from school one day, and I see a group of men at this other end of this party. This when I first moved over there, and I asked them where they from, and they say we bishops. So I say, are you East Side bishops? Like the East Side bishops? Because I never heard no West Side bishops. And they say, yeah. And my exact words was, don't be here tomorrow. And them all came. I stayed where I stayed. They left. And then the Rolling 60s appeared. And already were in place because they were a spinoff from the West Side anyway. So that's when the 60s started. Mm-hmm.
Well, I interviewed Big U,
Mm-hmm.
and he was around during this whole time. I'd seen some other interviews where basically he was describing how these fights would start to escalate. And before that time, there really was not, number one, there weren't a lot of murders, and Crips and Bloods really weren't shooting at each other like that
Where it wasn't a lot of murders.
between Crips
No, not at that
at
time.
that time. Yeah.
But they always had been internal murders. But at that time, they were still Blood versus Crips. This changed the whole landscape in 1980, you're correct. But it was a lot of, no. 72, 73, 74, 75, there were a lot of murders.
Well, Big U said that the C was born in 69, but was split in 79. So now you have a situation where he said it was the first Crip on Crip rivalry in LA history.
That was one of them. The first Crip on Crip rivalry was the Hoovers and the Hundreds.
Okay.
See, you got West Side, East Side, Compton, and then the Hoovers came. And a lot of Crips didn't like them. So at that time, when we start going into sets, you had the Hoovers, the Gangsters, and the 60s creating the Bermuda Triangle. We were all together.
Aha.
So the Hoovers also have been fighting since 74 internally, but it just didn't start to get publicly and go big to where it split right down the middle, like Big U say. That's when it really parted ways, the Red Sea, in which we had standing today.
Right. And he said that that split that beef between the A-Tray Gangsters and the Rollin 60s Crips.
Crippin started in '69. This is when they say the C was born. Mm-hmm. The C was born in '69, but in '79 the C was split up, and more than it was a beef with the Rollin 60s and the A-Tray Gangsters, it split up L.A.
Yeah.
Like when the Rollin 60s and the A-Tray Gangsters started fighting, it split L.A. in half.
It split the nation. Split L.A., split continents to this day. That split it. Pretty much you were allies with them, or either you were allies with us.
Well, he also said it became an arms race.
It became like an arms race. And it changed L.A. And what people don't understand is it changed L.A. in the fact that where now you had to either decide you was going to be with the neighborhood car or you was going to be with the gangster car. And it split the gangs of L.A. up.
Yeah, everyone had to take sides at that point.
Everyone had to take sides.
Yeah.
What started to change as that started to escalate?
Well, I was doing time in prison, and since I never got involved in it, I can't describe what was happening because I don't know nothing about Crip on Crip. That's a different era.
Right.
See, I'm proud of that. See, I never left home. I'm strictly blood versus Crips. So that's a different era. So I don't know about no arm race. All I know is the violence got real quick, actually for 40-something years.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the most deadliest rivalries in there, but by the grace of God, since I knew both of them from they seeds, I stayed out the way. I didn't take this side, and I didn't take that side or try to hurt. I wouldn't take my skills. I just stopped gangbanging actually at 17.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't go against these dudes that I had been going with. Now I'm going to turn around because of a thing, and they started sets. See, everybody I grew up with started sets. They didn't join those sets. That's a big difference. Like when you say OG. I don't like to be called OG because they say original gangster. I'm an original Crip. We started that term, then the black exploitation films started coming out with Jim Brown and all them, and they were called OGs. See how you got original gangsters?
Right.
But OG actually started from the Crips, which stood for original Crips, original members. And so it's been watered down a little bit when you say OG.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, I saw an interview with OG Hunchy from the A-Trays. And he said that the A-Tray Rollin 60s war, he said, was the dumbest war in the world because it started with two teenagers fighting over a female.
He was there.
He was there.
That's why I refer to them. I was in jail, but they hadn't been into it then. Hunchy, Sidewinder, Rayford, Big Rick, Odie Shaw, they all got into a conflict over there, and that's how that went about. He was actually there. Him, Baycott, Sidewinder, all them. So. Mm-hmm.